Well, good afternoon. We're doing another of the regular updates that we do, but I want to start off on a couple of personal notes. And the first is to express my condolences to the Stallworth family for the loss of Alma Stallworth. Anybody who knows politics knows that she was a powerhouse in Lansing, an African-American woman elected to the state legislature in 1970. She was a leader up there for decades. She founded the Michigan Black Legislative Caucus Foundation, passed the legacy on to her two sons, KB and Tommy, who both served in the legislature themselves. And now Misha Stallworth, her granddaughter, is on the Detroit School Board, a third generation of public servants. Alma Stallworth and I have been friends for 30 years. She co-chaired my campaign for mayor in 2013, and I was so blessed to be embraced in the Stallworth family. I was at the dinner that she and her husband had for their anniversary a couple years ago. I think it was their 65th wedding anniversary. And to be able to sit with a family who came in from all over the country. They were the finest of the city of Detroit, and Alma Stallworth's contributions will be felt for years to come. I also want to say to the Savad Johnson family that you're also very much in our thoughts. I was out on Belle Isle on Saturday with the Detroit Police Rescue Team was still searching for Sergeant Johnson. And I think by now everybody knows the story. He was with his daughter at Belle Isle when some girls were in trouble on the Detroit River in danger of drowning. And Savad Johnson, a great athlete but not a great swimmer, acted without any concern for his own life. Jumped in the water to went out and help along with a couple of others. The girls were saved. But Sergeant Johnson, tragically, did not make it back. Another man who came from a great family. His father was a firefighter. I spent time with his brother last Saturday as we waited and hoped for a miracle. And that memorial service, the funeral will be private, but the memorial service is Monday, and I will be a part of that. But everybody in this town recognizes that while he may not have been officially on the clock, he was very much on the job. And of course, the city is treating this as a duty-related death because he was always on duty. And the people of the city of Detroit have our hearts in Kenosha, Wisconsin this week. It was just horrifying to watch Jacob Blake be shot 7 times in the back, and reminds us of how far we have to go as a country. And I watched yesterday as the family made such powerful statements, and Mr. Blake's mother, it's a message that should resonate across the country. And I know this community is praying for Jacob Blake's full recovery. And I know they say the Lord doesn't send you more than you can bear, but we're also here to talk about the 1,500 people in the city of Detroit who we lost to COVID-19 since March. And those days in March and April when we were losing 40 or 50 people a day, and it seemed overwhelming. And many others lost relatives at the same time. Well, it may not have been to COVID. They couldn't visit their relatives in the hospital. They often died alone. They weren't able to hold funerals, weren't able to grieve. And so Rochelle Riley, I think, has put together something both for those who lost relatives of COVID and those who lost relatives during that period and could never have a funeral and visitation. And she's got a beautiful service planned on Monday. And at this point, I'd ask Rochelle Riley to come up and talk about the details of what this community will be doing.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. 1,500. I want us to just think about that number, 1,500 people, 1,500 mothers, fathers, daughters, grandmothers, grandfathers, police officers, government workers, dancers, homemakers, firefighters, people from all walks of life. If we had lost 1,500 people in one instance, like a terror attack, we'd pay attention. If we had lost them in 10 plane crashes in one day, we wouldn't be so quick to just move on. But look at the faces in this image that represent our 1,500 Detroiters. And this isn't all of them, even though we'll be celebrating all of them on Monday, which the mayor has declared Detroit Memorial Day. This is 900, all sent to us by their families. Billboard-sized photos of those 900 will be staked around Belle Isle on Monday, and 15 funeral processions will travel past them to give families one last look at loved ones who didn't get to have the funerals they deserved. Families will get those billboards after they've been on display for the public on Tuesday and Wednesday. So go see them. Give the families that time on Monday, but on Tuesday and Wednesday, go see them. See what COVID has snatched from us, and please take it seriously. When Mayor Duggan declared Monday Detroit Memorial Day, it was to make us stop and think about what we have lost, how it hurts, and what we need to do to stem the tide and stop the pain. When the mayor asked me to plan a memorial, I knew it would be one of the most important things I could do for my city, for our city, for this city that we love. So here is how you can help. WRCJ 90.9 will provide the music for those processions. So at 8:45 a.m. on Monday, Mayor Mike Duggan is going to call for residents everywhere, all across Southeast Michigan, to ring bells across the city, around Belle Isle, from the churches, from your businesses, from your homes. Join us in ringing bells for 15 minutes in honor of the 1,500. And then promptly at 9 a.m., tune your radios, no matter where you are, to WRCJ 90.9, which is providing live coverage, comments from the mayor, as well as the soundtrack for Memorial Day. That will be our symphony around the island. All of the radios and all of those cars are going to be tuned to gospel, classical, and jazz music. So look at those faces that represent the spirit of Detroit. Let the families mourn on Monday, but on Tuesday and Wednesday, go and see for yourselves how important this is to remember. And if you in your grief sent me a photo with no name and no way to reach you, just a picture, we have a beautiful picture of someone that we have no way of knowing who it is or who you are. Please call me, 313-720-1016. And we have some folks who have pictures on the island who didn't give us an email address. If you have not heard from us with your instructions on what to do, please call me, 313-720-1016. I'm Rochelle, and it's been my honor.
It's going to be a special day on Monday, and you can see again the statistics and the remarkable accomplishment that the city of Detroit has had with dramatically reducing the number of deaths of COVID. But I think, as everybody knows, the numbers in the Midwest are going up. They're going up in Detroit. We're seeing 20, 30 new cases a day instead of 10, and that's a problem. And we have crowds along the riverfront, crowds downtown. There's nothing wrong with that if you're wearing your masks and spacing out. But we have to really push. It's going to be after another 4 or 5 months, we have to wear our masks, or this is going to spike back up, and the governor's going to shut our factories down. She's going to shut our restaurants down. She's not going to have any choice. So I'd ask people to continue to be respectful of those we lost and make sure it doesn't happen again. And the other thing that I want to mention is on Monday night there will be the fireworks, and I know Jim Kirshner asked this question the other day, but there seems to be a misperception about the fireworks. The fireworks are not occurring in the city of Detroit. The only place to see them is on TV. The actual fireworks site is 20 miles outside the city at a suburban location that they're not disclosing because we don't want a community to have to deal with that. But the fireworks will not be visible from anywhere in the city. If you come down to the river, there won't be any barges there. There won't be any fireworks there. It'll be 20 miles outside the city. So please enjoy them on TV, but don't come down looking for them here. They won't be here. The 36th District Court is again open for eviction proceedings. With the failure of the federal government to effectively do anything to stop the evictions and to effectively support the folks who are out of work, we are very concerned about the housing security. The city has taken the lead from day one in providing money for support. We have nearly $12 million that is being used to pay for attorneys, to help pay back rent, to make arrangements with landlords. But for those who are in these situations, it's important that you pay what you can. There is not enough money to cover everything, but if you can't pay and you need to stay in your home, the city is going to do everything possible to keep you in that house. We do not need people looking for new homes during this pandemic. And so Ted Phillips from the United Community Housing Coalition and Donald Rencher from the city's housing department are here to talk about what you do if you're facing eviction. The city is here to help. We're going to do everything that we can to keep you in your home, but you have to let us know your situation. And with that, I'll turn it over to Ted Phillips and Donald Rencher.
Thank you, Mayor. Again, just to reiterate to everyone, we know that people are impacted right now because of COVID, and that has affected people's ability to work and hours being cut. And so we want to make sure that during this time of potential instability that the city of Detroit is here for you. And as soon as we knew that there would be potential issues with eviction and instability with housing, the mayor was fully supportive from day one to see what we can do to help fund an eviction assistance program. And we actually already run one with UCHC. Ted is behind me, and we'll talk about eviction assistance even more. But with the coalition with Lakeshore and Michigan Legal Assistance, we are providing not only legal assistance, but rental arrears payments, and also being able, in some certain circumstances, being able to pay future rent for future months to create more stability, so individuals won't have to worry for some time. So just a great program. I encourage people to visit DetroitEvictionHelp.com or call 866-313-2520 if they are looking for assistance. Right now, as the mayor had mentioned, we have approximately around $12 million for this particular program. We encourage not only tenants but landlords to work with their tenants to call this number, because we know there are a lot of low to moderate income landlords who also need the assistance for rental payments to help pay their bills as well. So we encourage you to call. We are also helping with relocation assistance as well if we cannot come to a solution. But I just want to pass this over to Ted as well to talk about how things are going right now. But very proud of the program, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor Duggan, and thank you, Director Rencher. Yes, there essentially are three different groups that are kind of at issue right now, and I would certainly urge you to reach out to us for help. There are a number of people that have cases from last March and February that are still in some jeopardy. A number of those have what are called writ hearings. Those are hearings that the last step in the eviction process. There were 105 of those last week. No one was evicted. There was a lot of problems with communication. Letters went out to not only the tenants but also landlords representing the defendant, representing the landlords, and many were never received. We are going to have a horrible problem, clearly, with the mail in the city of Detroit. United Community Housing Coalition, along with Michigan Legal Services and Lakeshore Legal Aid, were in court on all 105 of those cases and advised the court of the fact that many people did not get notice. And as a result of that, most of those cases were put over to other dates. Some of them were settled on the spot with the attorneys we had there then. Through the work of the Department of Neighborhoods, we were able to, and we will need to continued help from the Department of Neighborhoods and continued help from neighborhood groups working with them to get the word out. Door knocking, and we had flyers, a letter from me that went out to everyone that was not able to be at court to let them know what happened, to let them know when their new date is, and to let them know what that meant and what kind of services are available. So hopefully we'll be able to continue that. We also know that there's a number of cases that were never heard in March. Nearly 900 of them were told by the court. We know there's 178 of those that are scheduled between now and September the 4th. We will be in court, we being the United Community Housing Coalition, Michigan Legal Services, and Lakeshore Legal Aid, at all the virtual hearings, and there to advise and to let the court know that we're there to pick up any cases that are unrepresented. So you will have that ability to have that assistance. Those are for all residential tenants, of course. We are looking at going forward. The court has said that they would limit the number of cases that they would be hearing on a daily basis. They cannot pack the courtroom like they once did, and they realize that. So there will be limits on them, and we hope with those limits that we will be able to continue for many months to provide the opportunity for everyone to have counsel. Going forward, there's new cases that will be filed with the court could have been filed as recently as yesterday. Notices, the first step in an eviction process is what's called a notice to quit or demand for possession. Those are two different types of notices. But those have to go out before, and the time given in them expire before there can be a complaint and summons filed with the court. So the earliest notice that one would get would be a 7-day notice for non-payment of rent, or a 1-month notice for termination of tenancy. Those notices could have first went out on August the 17th, meaning that the first cases that might have been filed were August the 25th. I was not able to confirm with the court before coming here whether there were any cases filed or how many might have been filed, but that would have been the earliest. Once a case is filed, it is generally set for hearing 10 days from when it's filed. That may be longer now, probably will be longer now if there are as many cases filed in the future as there has been in the past. When a tenant is in court, and why it's very important to reach out to the numbers on the screen there beforehand is once a tenant is in court, they could get as little as 10 days to move from that point. Now, for the time being at least, the Michigan Supreme Court has said that the district courts should hold, the first hearing should be what's called a pretrial, meaning it will be a chance to talk to the other side through counsel, hopefully, try to work something out, and if we're not able to, then we can prepare for trial just a week later. But that doesn't mean that if you get a notice, you should wait to come to court before you do outreach to us or to Lakeshore Legal Aid or to Michigan Legal Services. As soon as you get that, you should try to reach out to us. We have had support from the court to say that they will provide lists and information on all cases that are being brought to court, and we'll be able to get a copy of all of the pleadings that have been filed, and we do intend to, when we have phone numbers, to call people. So if you get a call from any of us, we're not trying to solicit your business, or we're not trying to charge you anything. We don't charge anything. Okay, we're trying to be proactive so that if you do end up in court, that we have as much time as possible to prepare for that and to help you. There are resources available, but everything, any government program, and that's not a knock on it, it's just the way it works, for federal funds, that there are some qualifications, there is some documentation that we have to obtain, and that can be somewhat of a struggle when we're not meeting face-to-face and we're having to rely on other ways to get that documentation. So we need every minute that we can get. We are looking at being an organization that would normally take 25 to maybe 50 cases a month through the court, to having to average 550 to 600. Thankfully, with the city support, we have a lot more staff than we've ever had before, but still that's a big jump. So give us as much time as we can to help you, and we'd urge you to do that. And lastly, I would just reinforce what the mayor had also said, that, and I'm going to say it in a different way, because when you hear that there's money available, there is money available, but it's not unlimited. And it is going to be important so that more people can get assistance and so that everybody hopefully can get assistance, that if you have the ability to pay part of your judgment, part of your rent, you should be doing that, okay? So I would also urge that you to know that. Okay, thank you.
Thank you for the great work that you're doing, and they'll be available for questions at the end on the eviction help, but DetroitEvictionHelp.com is where you go. We do have some good news today, and at this point we're going to reintroduce the Detroit Land Bank. And there's nothing that was a worse decision than the decision made in 2013 by the emergency manager before I was elected, that demolition should be done by the Detroit Land Bank. The federal funding required an entity outside the city of Detroit. The land bank got designated. The land bank, as we all know, was never equipped to do demolition. But they do have about 90,000 properties. What the land bank should be doing is selling side lots to neighbors. The land bank should be selling houses to people that fix them up. The land bank should be partnering with churches and community groups to do 5 and 10 houses at a time. The land bank should be working with neighborhoods to create neighborhood gardens and parks and the like. They should be moving the land. 2 weeks ago, the land bank demolished its last house. The federal money is done. Demolition is now moved to the City of Detroit Demolition Department, where it should have been all along. And we are not going to talk about land bank and demolition anymore. It's been a painful process for all of us, but now we have demolition where it should be. And from here on out, the land bank is going to talk about how we take this property and move it from city ownership into ownership of the people who live in these neighborhoods. And the person who we recruited nationally, whose expertise is putting land back in the community, and who is very pleased to be focused on this mission, is our Land Bank Director, Saskia Thompson.
Thank you, Mayor. Thanks for the opportunity to talk a little bit about the land bank today. First, I need to make sure I'm getting the, okay. Right, great. Okay, again, so as the Mayor said, I'm Saskia Thompson. I'm the Executive Director of the Detroit Land Bank Authority, and as of in about 2 weeks, I will have been in this position for 3 years, pretty much on the dot. And during that time, we've accomplished a lot. I'm going to talk a little bit about what we've done over the past few years so that we can really focus on what we're going to do from here going forward. So again, for those of you that know about the land bank, our mission is essentially to take property in the city of Detroit that's been abandoned or foreclosed and put it back in the hands of some sort of active use. And so starting in 2014, all of the publicly owned residential property that was previously spread around various organizations and various institutions, it was really hard for people to figure out how to purchase it, and that ownership was then consolidated in the land bank. And so we started sales programs, a variety of them that I'll talk a little bit about here. So the first thing I'd love people to know is that we've passed the 15,000 mark in how many side lots we've sold. We've also sold over 9,800 structures. So those are houses that were vacant and abandoned and are either renovated and have families living in them now or in the process of being renovated. As the mayor said, demolitions has taken up, I think, a lot of the public discourse, and it's an important part of our programming, but it's not really the sum total of the work that we've done. So over the 15,000 HHF demolitions, when you combine it with what the city did, 21,000 demos in the community, that's representing a tremendous reduction in the blight. So with those structures that we've sold, over 4,000 buyers have already completed their renovations, and those are families that are living in homes in Detroit that were previously vacant. And we've got about 4,300 individuals that are working through that renovation process now. So this really is providing home ownership opportunities to people that may not have been able to participate in the rest of the market. So our sales programs, the biggest programs that we have are Auction and Own It Now. Since 2014, we've sold over 3,800 structures through our auction platform. We sold over 6,900 properties through our Own It Now platform. That's a 95% increase just over the course of 1 and 2 years. So as people became aware of these programs, people have been really participating in them, and we on the staffing side have really kind of worked through the kinks and perfected the art of selling these on an auction portfolio. All of these properties are listed on buildingdetroit.org. We add new listings every single day throughout the month, so I just really encourage anybody who's interested to go out there and check out our website, see what's available. You can search under a number of criteria based on neighborhoods or zip codes or address. It's all available on our website. We have a couple of other sales programs that aren't as large but are also really, really important to our overall mission. The most important one we have is buyback. So if you find yourself in a land bank owned house that either you thought you owned or your family owned or you had some connection to that house, we have a program to actually help you keep that house. It's called buyback. Since that program started, over 700 people have gotten deeds to the houses that they were previously living in through that program. If you find yourself living in a land bank house, I urge you to reach out because we may have programming available to help you keep that house. We've also done Rehabbed and Ready, which is a philanthropic program funded by outside philanthropy, where we take a house in a community and we renovate it, putting a fully renovated house back in that neighborhood and providing a comp for other people to benchmark against when they are trying to get mortgages. We've sold over 77 of those, and it's a program we're still working on. We also have some marketed properties, so for anything that requires a unique type of renovation or something else that is just not suited to put on our auction property, we use brokers to market those. And again, all of those are listed on our website, and you can find out information on specifically how to apply for those purchases there too. Side lots is a hugely popular and very important program. As I said earlier, we've sold over 15,000 of those lots, and if you think about what that means in terms of land mass, it's almost 1.5 times the size of Belle Isle. It's a huge amount of land that was previously publicly owned, not any benefit to anybody, and now those lots are gardens or just a place for people to enjoy attached to their house. That's a really important program, and we're going to continue selling those until we have no more land left. If I could send one message to everybody who's leading this, listening to this right now, would really be about the land bank is here to support Detroiters. You know, our auction is blind. We don't know who's participating in that auction until a winning bidder is identified. But what we've discovered through this process is it really is Detroiters who are participating in this programming. Over 70% of our buyers excuse me, were Detroit residents at the time they made that purchase, and many of them were renters at the time they made that purchase, so that our programming really is an opportunity for folks to move into homeownership, something that we're very proud of. Again, with the 4,300 rehabs that are already complete, our compliance team is still monitoring for more than 4,500 of those renovations, and we've restructured our compliance staff to be more, we feel like this is a partnership between the land bank and the buyer, and we're going to help you get through that process. Construction is difficult in Detroit. Many of these properties have been abandoned for years, and they need a lot of work, and it's going to take you time and energy and dollars to get through that process, and our compliance staff is ready and able to help. Each one of those renovations represents value, stability, and beautification in neighborhoods across the city, and we're incredibly pleased that we get to participate in that. If you look at just the dollar-for-dollar spending on the almost $265 million in HHS spending, plus everything that's spin-off of people renovating their houses, it has a huge impact in terms of economic benefit to our city. Over $850 million in estimated economic benefit is spin-off from demolition, and an additional $800 million just in the renovation cost. And the most important part of that is this is not investment in downtown Detroit. This is investment in neighborhoods. We don't have property for sale in downtown. We have property for sale in every other neighborhood in Detroit, and we're going to keep going on this programming. So what we're going to be doing next is just a continued focus on saving the houses that we have available for rehab. Right now, we're closing on about 200 properties a month, either through auction or our Own It Now programming, and we're on schedule to keep that going throughout this year and into next. There's over 400 properties currently listed for sale on buildingdetroit.org. Again, I urge everybody who's interested in purchasing a property in Detroit to go out and look at that website. And you can really help us decide which houses are best suited for renovation and rehab by reaching out through our inquire@detroitlandbank.org email address. Anytime somebody, we have a huge portfolio. It takes us a long time to move through that inventory. But if somebody's interested in a specific house and you let us know, we can move it up in the queue, and we've done that several times. In terms of what's next for us, our biggest component that we're hoping everybody takes advantage of is our new vacant land reuse strategy. So I've mentioned that we've sold over 15,000 side lots, but if it doesn't qualify as a side lot because it's not next to an adjacent occupied structure, we really didn't have any programming approved by our board of directors to allow us to sell that land. And earlier this year, we actually got approved through our board a mechanism for selling lots that don't qualify as a side lot. So if it's not immediately adjacent, but it's within 500 feet of where you live, we now have a program for neighborhood lots where we can sell that property to you. Also, side lots has a size cap. It has to be less than 7,500 square feet to count as a side lot. Now we can sell you lots that are a little bit bigger than that through our oversized lot program. Also, accessory structures. There are a couple of oddball lots that we have that might have a garage or a shed on it, and we didn't have a mechanism for selling those prior, and now we do through our accessory structure policy. And the biggest thing is for infill housing lots. So if we have vacant land and somebody wants to build housing on that, we now have a policy and able to sell that land to you. Last, I'd like to focus just on community connection. What we do is incredibly important that people know about it and they reach out to us and that we reach out to them. And community engagement has always been an important part of what we do, and it remains so. Of course, it's much more difficult during COVID. So I want to talk a little bit about how we're continuing to reach out when we have to remain just cognizant of how COVID impacts. So we still have our monthly office hours. We used to do those out in the community. At some point, we'd like to get back to that, but in the meantime, those office hours are live on Zoom and Facebook. We have Rehab and Ready live videos that showcase the houses we have for sale, also on Facebook Live. We are doing our building blocks events, which is really a community-based sales event. We're doing those virtually. For anybody who's recently purchased a home and they need an orientation of our compliance function and how to maneuver through that program, we also have that available virtually. And we also have some virtual conference rooms and public computer access available by appointment in our lobby for those that don't have access to that in their own homes. So again, that's everything that we have done and we plan on continuing to do. Our buildingdetroit.org website has a ton of information on it. I really urge everybody to check it out. If you have any questions, there's also inquire at Detroit Land Bank for any specific property or program that you're interested in. And we've got lots of people standing by to answer all your questions. Thanks. I'll turn it back over to the mayor.
So if you're in a situation where you think you're being evicted, we've got help for you there. If you have a house that you want to move into in Detroit, the land bank is there. If you want property, the land bank is there. And if you need a job, Detroit at Work is there. We are going to be the city government that provides a whole range of services. And so, again, because of the federal government's inaction, the $600 a week has gone. There's a $300 a week program coming that will probably last just a few weeks, but I'm hearing from a lot of people who are in significant financial difficulty. But unlike other cities in the country, we still have businesses moving in and jobs opening. Last week I was at a clothing business in Southwest Detroit that opened. Yesterday I was at a food business in Lafayette Park that opened. And then last night, after the opening of the pizza shop, I went over and met with the neighbors who live south of the state fairgrounds. In one of their backyards, we must have had 30 or 40 neighbors to talk about the Amazon project, and the support of the neighbors for the 1,200 jobs at Amazon was overwhelmingly positive. And of course, FCA is hiring today. We have jobs for you in the city of Detroit through the Detroit at Work program. And so if you or somebody you know is hurting financially and wants to go to work, wants to get the skills, I'm going to ask Nicole Sherrard-Freeman to come up. I'm going to have to go join another announcement. Now we have Bosch and Ford and Bedrock announcing an advance in automated vehicles coming to the city of Detroit. But all of the folks will be here to answer the questions for all these programs. But here's Nicole Sherrard-Freeman, who can tell you right now how you can land a job, land the training program today. Nicole?
Thanks very much, Mayor. So you may recall that in June of 2019, Detroit at Work started to deliver FCA readiness events in the community. And this was after City Council approved the deal through which FCA brought 5,000 jobs to Detroit. And you know that was the hard work of the mayor in negotiations with FCA and then City Council's approval. And so I want to spend just a couple of minutes updating you on what's happening next with FCA, and then talk about a little bit about what's happening after FCA. So since June of 2019, Detroit at Work has delivered more than 1,000 community events. And these were the short sessions that ran at faith-based locations, at rec centers, at community centers, at Detroit at Work centers. And so it's great that we delivered 1,100 events, but the question is what became of that and what's happening now. So I want to share with you, we're very excited to share with you that there are 16,000 Detroiters who are on the list. So that's 16,000 Detroiters who made it through all of the assessments, filled out the application, made it through the math and mechanical reasoning test that FCA gives, and every one of those 16,000 Detroiters has a link from FCA to apply. Yesterday was the deadline for getting on the list, but FCA has extended the deadline to apply. So if you already have a link, if you are already on the list, be sure you check your email, check your spam, because you don't want to miss your FCA application link. And if you believe that you're on the list and you haven't gotten your application link, please call us at 313-962-9675 so that we can be sure that your application link gets to you. There are already 8,600 Detroiters who have applied. More than 2,000 interviews are complete. But here's the most exciting part. There are 1,200 offers from FCA to Detroiters who have priority underway. 1,200 offers. And that's just the beginning. 500 Detroiters have already accepted the offer, and more than 300 are starting now at either the Sterling Heights Assembly Plant or the Sterling Stamping Plant before the jobs in Detroit become available. Thousands of interviews are already scheduled, and again, it's not too late. If you are already on the list, check your email, check your spam for your application link from FCA, and if you don't see it, call us. What's happening with FCA, though, begs the question, what's next? And what if the autos weren't for you? So there are lots of programs and initiatives that are underway, and I want to spend just a minute sharing with you how you get in touch with us if you are either not interested in FCA, if auto manufacturing is not for you, or if you want to explore another opportunity. So we will pay you to complete your high school diploma if you have just a few classes to go or you need your GED. We will make available to you a whole host of other trainings and job opportunities that are outside of the autos, outside of manufacturing. We've got healthcare and IT. We've got retail and hospitality. We've got customer service. And as the mayor mentioned, there are Amazon opportunities on the way, and even opportunities for small business owners who want to be part of the Amazon ecosystem. How do you get a hold of us, though? And how do you help keep track of, how do you stay on top of all the initiatives that Detroit at Work is offering and all of the opportunity that's available? I'm happy to share with you that you can now join us on Channel 21 or Channel 22 every day, Monday through Friday at 1 p.m. For a new program that we are launching called 10,000 Opportunities. And this will be a very short, quick way for you to stay on top of the opportunities that are available through Detroit at Work, and also to see inside some of the employers. So we're going to take you inside the auto manufacturing plants. We're going to take you inside FCA. We'll take you inside New Center Stamping. We'll take you inside healthcare so that you can see what you might be signing up for and what you might be interested in. So again, join us Monday through Friday, 1 p.m., Channel 21 or Channel 22, and we're going to share with you just a brief clip of what you're in for. Join us.
Detroit, what's going on? It's Raven. Listen, I know you guys have heard so much about FCA. Guess what? Today, we're going to go over people who have received job offers. We're going to go over what that process looked like. We're going to also talk to you about some of our partners and what they did with Detroit at Work to get Detroiters ready for FCA. So if you're interested, come on, let's take a look. So today I'm joined by my colleague Jason Spann, and we're going to take a look back at the process over the last year for getting Detroiters into the 5,000 jobs coming to the new FCA facility.
The process started back in spring of 2019 when the mayor and the city council announced where the facility would be and how Detroiters would be the first in line for the jobs.
The most important thing is we're getting a commitment for jobs for Detroiters. And what is contained in this agreement that FCA has signed today is something that's never been done before.
Based on the level of incentives that FCA got from both the state and the city, giving Detroiters priority was the only way that that level of incentives would happen. So it was crucial to the deal.
I think just the excitement of knowing that there is going to be opportunity, and just to know that you are given special attention, I think has changed the attitude.
I was looking, but I was also displaced. So I was just at a point, where do I go from here? I put this application in. It's a possibility. Like I said, I've been trying since I was 18 and I'm 52. And there was always no feedback or I'm sorry, Ms. Carter,
This investment is so important that FCA is doing. It's something that says to this community, leadership cares and corporations can care.
Okay, with the mayor having to leave for his other event, we can open it up to questions right now if anybody has any.
I have some questions on the eviction announcement. I was wondering if you had any more details about the $12 million in terms of how it will be spent by programmatically, with legal services, direct assistance, those kind of categories.
Sure, I can answer that, and it's under the responsibility of Ted, who runs the program. But we've always had a start-off budget on how much of the $12 million will go to legal services versus rental arrears or relocation assistance. I usually leave it up to Ted to balance that budget based on what comes into the door. So Ted, if you want to talk more about exactly what you see it now, but I think we're going to see a significant amount of people who will need rental arrears paid immediately, but I leave it up to Ted to provide.
Well, just one quick thing. So did the city essentially kind of sign over or redirect the funding to UCHG?
That's right. So it's a combination of two different funds. One is CDBG. We have about $5.5 million in CDBG. The other portion comes from the state of Michigan, and there's rules on how you dictate how you spend that money. So they tell you exactly what we can or cannot do. UCHC, along with Lakeshore and Michigan Legal Service Aid, are subrecipients, and we pay them to deliver the service. But they do have freedom over the budget within what the contract provides.
Okay.
So of the funds, there's $6.4 million in the state allocation that's specifically for rental assistance, and there's about $800,000 that's for staffing, and that includes some staffing with the Detroit Continuum of Hand, that is the agency that we contract through. On the city side, about $3.2 million of it is for, that's around figures, for the enhanced legal representation, and that's shared pretty equally between United Community Housing Coalition, Michigan Legal Services, and Lakeshore Legal Aid. About $1.25 million of it is for additional rental assistance. It's a little different than the state program, and it was in place before the state program. And then the balance of the funds of the 5.3 million that Donald just referred to, 300,000 of that is also for assisting residents with direct financial assistance as well that are being displaced by various projects where they're in low rent situations and they may be being displaced for development, and arrangements are trying to be worked out to make sure that they can come back to those sites. The Davenport 40 Davenport was one example of that that was completed and very successful. And then the balance of the funds are for staffing, for relocation counseling, finding places, inspecting them, making sure that they meet HQS standards by the federal government, and pretty much I think that's about it. And then there's some overhead. Obviously, there's going to be some. We got to pay the rent for our own sake to be able to house folks, and some administrative overhead. Does that answer your?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. Do you guys have an idea of how many people in Detroit are in need of assistance or facing eviction?
The commitment that was made with the $5 million was to deal with to increase the number of served by 5,000. So that's one number. Do we have any idea how many? I don't think anyone honestly has that. We know on a normal basis, there's about 31,000 cases a year in 36 district court. And according to the chief judge, no more than about a week ago when he was speaking at one of the Department of Neighborhood events, he said there was a 37% bailiff eviction rate. I think I've got that straight, but he would be the better to speak to his exact numbers. But you can do the math on that. That's higher than I thought it was. But those are 31,000 is the usual number in court or number of cases filed. They don't all show up, but leading to judgments, and maybe 9,000 to 10,000 of those facing eviction every year. Now, obviously, we're not going to see those kinds of numbers this year because we had April through now with the court being down. But I would assume that the rate would be as high as ever once the filings start being reestablished, just based on the fact that there's fewer people with money to be able to pay rent.
And as far as the criteria for getting help, I imagine there's different criteria for different types of assistance, but is there any kind of baseline for, just to, to reach out, like you need to satisfy these conditions, or?
I think we have enough different resources to help anyone who's a tenant and at least below 100% of the area median, and the area being the Tri-County area. So in terms of Detroit, that covers just about all and I practiced in 36 district courts since 1986. So it covers just about everybody that would generally come through that court that's in a residential situation, not commercial. So we can usually find a way to assist any tenant in those circumstances. The ones that are a little bit the hardest are the eviction diversion program that the state has does not cover land contracts. Most of the rental assistance type money through the federal government doesn't cover land contracts. We have a little bit of foundation money to deal with that, and we've developed a loan pool to help people buy out land contracts and things like that when the amount owed is relatively small, $4,000 or $5,000, something like that. But there's usually a counseling way to help almost anyone. It's just whether we can have the staff to actually do everyone. Is that?
Yeah, that's my last question. You mentioned, the increase in caseloads and that you do have more staff to deal with it. Can you say, what staffing was like for you guys pre-COVID and what you're up to now?
We had collectively, we share space with Michigan Legal Services, and we collectively had roughly 5 FTEs, that's counting a piece of me. I don't always get into court. I've got a lot of other duties. We're up to 13 or so now, and we're still hiring. We're still looking for other attorneys and paralegals and other staff as well. So we've more than double. We felt if we fully staffed before eviction diversion came into play, we could move the needle from about 5% of the tenants in Detroit getting representation, because that's how bad it was, till about 25%. But with eviction diversion and with the changes that the court's made in the process in terms of how they're hearing cases and how many cases they're hearing, we feel we can get it up to close to 100%. Or at least offer in 100%.
That's all my questions.
Okay, thank you.